How would you like a build that uses an assault rifle, but it has the ammo capacity of nearly an LMG, the rate of fire of an SMG approaching that of the Vector, and does shock damage like the Scorpio? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, it's Agent Meat from Delta Tactical. So as you can see from the icon on the screen, I am in the PTS. I went in last night to test out descent mode, and after we ran that a few times, I decided to create a new character so I could experience some of the new equipment, gear, exotics, etc. And I have fallen in love with the St. Elmo's engine. This is the build I was running last night in the stream that I did, where we were running around testing out the St. Elmo's engine. And as you can see, it has a 70-round magazine. And with strikers, it brings the RPM up to 1020, which it's not at the full 1200 of a Vector, but it's getting up very close to that. It's higher than the default FAMAS. And yes, I realize that if you run a FAMAS with strikers, you're going to get a very high rate of fire. The base damage, now, as you can see, while I was playing around with it, I did bring the expertise level all the way up to 22 just to test it out. And even at 22, it's less than a base Eagle Bearer. So this build in a nutshell is the build I was using last night on the live stream, with a couple of minor modifications from when I was live streaming last night. I've gone to an ACS-12, and I just want to point this out, that the ACS-12 has a 20-round magazine, and I'm pointing this out for later. The St. Elmo's engine has a 70-round magazine. Other than bringing the expertise level up, which I did just to see how well I could get it to perform, this is how it rolled for me originally. This attribute, if you reconfigure it, it is reconfigurable. I decided to stick with rate of fire because I didn't realize you could reconfigure it until after I had already brought the expertise level up, and I didn't want to have to go through that process again. But one of my clanmates ended up with damage to targets out of cover on here. So with that in mind, you can build an even better version of this than what I've been running and what you'll see in the gameplay that I showed you or will show you at the end of this video. So all of these are going to run the gunner class.
Hey there.
What the gunner class brings to the table is you get 10% armor on kill, you get every third reload 50% faster, your armor kit gives you 30% bonus armor. You're also regenerating ammunition. Your rate of fire increases by 5% on kill for 5 seconds. So I'm basically leaning into rate of fire on this build. You're also getting weapon handling while you're in cover. Now I've spec'd into assault rifles, shotguns, and SMGs. Shotguns and those are the three weapons that I'm using predominantly throughout this. Now this character, again, I built last night, so this is kind of what you see is what you get when you come into a PTS and you build a new character. All watch levels are applied, and it gives you your default watch level, or at least it gives you the default level of whenever the snapshot was taken of your character when they created the PTS. All of the three builds I'm going to show you here utilize the gunner class. They are all using the same weapons. I'm using the St. Elmo's engine, the ACS-12, and just the default gunner class pistol, which is the P320X. So this build is 4 pieces of striker, including the backpack. So I'm getting 15% additional weapon handling, 15% rate of fire, and striker's gamble. Because I'm not using the backpack, I'm only getting, and I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, I'm only getting up to 0.65% additional weapon damage for up to 100 stacks. Because I'm using the chest piece, it's up to 200 stacks. Now those stacks are harder to maintain because of the burn-off rate, if you will. Up to 50 stacks, 1 stack is lost per second, 2 stacks per second between 50 and 100. And then 3 stacks per second between 100 and 200. Having said that, if you enter the engagement using the shotgun, with strikers, the trick is building the stacks quickly and then maintaining them as long as you possibly can throughout all of your engagements. High rate of fire certainly helps, but the shotgun, especially high rate of fire shotgun like the ACS-12, you get 8 pellets, and each of those pellets builds a stack if they're all hitting the target. So you will build stacks much quicker if you use a shotgun. As you'll see in the gameplay, all I used was the St. Elmo's engine, and at one point I was nearly at max stacks. So that is actually giving you double that, which would be 130% additional weapon damage on top of the rate of fire buff, etc., etc. I'm using the Memento bag for its additional bonuses, and I've covered the Memento bag at length throughout this, but this build has 4 red cores, so for the temporary buffs or the short-term buffs, I'm getting 20% additional weapon damage per stack that I walk across. I'm getting 30% additional bonus armor for each flag rather that I pick up, and 5% skill efficiency. But when you're fully stacked, on top of the short-term buffs, you get the long-term buffs. It's 1% additional weapon damage, and the stacks go up to 30, so that's actually 30% additional weapon damage, 30% additional skill efficiency, and 3% armor regen, which lasts for 5 minutes. Anytime I walk across one of the trophies, I said flags and earlier, but they are trophies. Every time you pick one up, that resets the cooldown for that. And then I added the Picaro's holster. The Picaro's holster came from my inventory, my cache, whereas everything else that you see on this build, I got from the PTS. And then I'm using the Striker Shield and the Striker Drone, which is fairly typical for me for a build like this. This one was a lot of fun to play. Just before we did District Union, one of my clanmates decided to put together an almost identical build, except instead of running 4 pieces of Strikers, he decided to run 4 pieces of True Patriot, and blurted, "Holy crap, this thing has a 90-round magazine now." I ended the stream before I got a chance to test it out, so I decided to test it out this morning. Put together 2 different variants of the same build, depending on whether you want to be more of a support player or more of an attacking player. If you want to see this build in action, the link will be below to the live stream from last night. So this is the build you're going to see in the video. Again, same specialization, same weapons, slightly different configuration and layout. I'm now using the Ninja Bike bag because I'm combining 2 gear sets. It's still using Strikers and the Strikers backpack, so I still have the 4 pieces of Strikers, which gives you weapon handling, rate of fire, and the Striker's Gamble, which we talked about previously. Now, I'm going to backpedal at the end of this and show you the weapon stats and the weapon modifications and why this is such a cool build. Then I added 2 pieces of True Patriot, which builds to a 3-piece. So with 2 pieces, you get 30% ammo capacity. With 3 pieces, you get a 30% magazine size. You go from 70 rounds to 91 rounds with the same RPM, and you get slightly less weapon damage. But honestly, you don't need more than what this has. I didn't on purpose cover St. Elmo's engine completely as I went through this before. You get assault rifle damage, health damage. The last attribute is reconfigurable, so you can re-roll this until you get the attribute that you want. This dropped for me with rate of fire. I left it, not thinking that I could recalibrate it, brought it up to expertise level 22, and then decided to leave it alone. The only negative that I have for this gun so far is the scope is not zoomable, which it would be. I'm not sure that they want to do that. Again, I don't know enough about it. I don't know what modifications they're going to make after the PTS to this, but this gun is absolutely massive amount of fun to play with. If you could zoom the scope, this would be absolutely viable for Legendary, because then you could shield peek. That's my only criticism, and it's not really a criticism, but that would be the only thing I would wish that it would have. The talent of the St. Elmo's engine, shooting an enemy with this weapon will give 1 stack. At 100 stacks, the next magazine will be filled with shock ammo. The accuracy on this gun is ridiculous. My accuracy is normally somewhere between the high 30s to the mid 40s. And what I'm getting with this is in the high 50s, and I hit 60%, which is, for me, incredible. The gun, once you put it on target, stays exactly where you aimed it. So if you're a console player, this gun is going to be a godsend. With 91 rounds, you can see that shortly after the set, you're midway through your second magazine, you're going to be loaded up with 91 shock rounds. So you can actually pan across an entire group and shock all of them, and then pick them off at your leisure. But the mods that it rolls with, the optics give you 20% crit damage. You get 30 additional rounds in the magazine, which again brings it up to your base of 70. and you get 20% crit damage. It's a fantastic exotic. For the secondary, I'm running the ACS 12. Most times I would recommend you go with the rock and roll. The advantage of running the ACS 12 on this build is I can run damage to targets out of cover and get very close to the same magazine size as I've got with a base rock and roll. This build is going to give you most of the benefits of gear that's harder to acquire. But if you play the season and you get an ACS 12, this build will allow you to put together something that approaches the performance of a much harder to acquire build, is basically where I'm going with this. The way I'm running all of these is I've recalibrated to crit chance. I put a crit chance mod on this one. The Ninja Bike is running a crit damage mod. Striker's Backpack, weapon damage crit chance with a, and this actually is incorrect. Give me a sec. With a crit damage mod. I'm running the Striker's Gloves. These ones rolled with crit damage, so I rolled the armor core over, so I rolled the weapon damage core over to armor. Then True Patriot with max armor and max crit chance, and True Patriot again with max armor, max crit chance. Same 2 skills, same weapons, same specialization. So the stats on this, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm recording this in one go through. It gives you 90.7k weapon damage, 58.6 crit chance, and if I had a better crit chance mod, it would put me at the cap, and 97.9% crit damage. And again, if I was running my regular character, my regular main character with slightly higher mods, this would be at the cap of 60%, and this would be slightly over 100. You get 75% headshot damage, 21% health damage. There's nothing unlisted on here because there's no additional damage to targets out of cover. For the armor, it's 1.44 million with 144,000 armor on kill. And then everything else is due to either the specialization, which is the pulse resistance, and the watch level, which is the additional explosive hazard, etc. The shield is a tier 5 shield, which gives it, where's the health? 3.9 million. And I understand that some people do not like running a shield because it does slow you down. It's a little bit of a crutch, etc., etc. But I like running shields, so I ran a shield. And then the last one is the Striker Drone, which is a tier 1 tier 1 drone. And its damage is 23,007. I like the drone because it does draw a little bit of aggro and does a little bit of damage. So it takes some of the heat off you. Some people prefer the turret. I like the mobility of the drone. The turret actually does more damage. I believe it draws more aggro, and it certainly has more health. So in a longer engagement at higher difficulty levels, the turret may be a better choice. There are so many different skills you could run with this. With the gunner, you could run the Banshee Pulse in lieu of the shield. You could run a decoy. The list goes on and on. So basically, what I'm trying to get across here poorly is use the skills you're most comfortable with. So I'm going to go back to the first to show you the stats just so that we can directly compare them. With the All Strikers build with Memento, and this is without Memento stacks, I'm at 104k weapon damage. These numbers are identical. Same armor on kill. It's, I believe, 33 or 34,000 armor regen once you're at your 3%. So that's really the only difference. But once Memento is stacked, this does hit a fair bit harder. And it's at 1.3 million. And the last build option would be just swapping the chest piece. The only difference between the build that you're going to see in the video and this one is a change out of the chest piece, and you change it out to True Patriot. So instead of 4 pieces of Strikers and 3 pieces of True Patriot, it reverses that and gives you 4 pieces of True Patriot and 3 of Strikers. You still get the rate of fire buff and the weapon handling buff from strikers. You're missing out on strikers gamble. Instead, you're getting the red, white, and blue. Again, if you're playing more of a support role, because you're running the backpack, the flags are changing every 1.5 seconds instead of the default 2 seconds. You've got a 90-round magazine with a huge ammo capacity, and with Gunner, you're regenerating ammunition. So this thing is it's an absolute beast of a support build. I haven't talked at great length about True Patriot. It's a fantastic set. With the 4-piece, red, white, and blue, every 2 seconds, and again, because I'm running the chest piece, it's every 1.5 seconds, enemy you shoot receive a stacking buff of red, white, and blue. Red amplifies the enemy's damage taken by 8%, and this applies to the entire team. White, shooting an enemy repairs the attacking agent's armor by 2% once every second. Once you see the white flag over the targets, if you shoot them, it will regenerate your armor, and again, that applies to the entire team. And blue decreases the enemy's damage dealt by 8%. Full flag, enemies that die while under the effect of all 3 debuffs create a 5-meter explosion, dealing damage equal to their total health and armor. Explosion damage is reduced on named enemy deaths, but if you hit a Goldie with this, who happens to be surrounded by other NPCs, it clears the entire group. It's not as powerful as a Regulus headshot explosion, but it's fantastic. You'll see that in the gameplay from last night. The combination of me using strikers and him using the True Patriot was lethal. This is another option for you. Other than that, the build's absolutely identical to the previous one that I showed you. But these are 3 options that I found so far on the PTS that have been, this one is 1.6 million armor. So again, you're a lot tankier. You still have armor on kill. So that's where your survivability is going to come from. This is some of the most fun that I've had running a build in, I wouldn't say in a long time, but this was a tremendous amount of fun. That's it in a nutshell. I realize this has been a rambling kind of video. It's been a little while since I've done one, and this was unscripted. It was just, I had so much fun last night, I decided to record this content. I'm going to edit it out, and it should be out Monday evening. As always, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much for your support. Sincerely, it means a lot to me personally and to the channel. Your support is what enables this content to get out to a much wider audience. So if you're new to the channel and you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. And for everybody, please engage with the video in one way, shape, or form. A like, a comment, a share, all help the YouTube algorithm, and it allows the content to get out to a wider audience. I'm going to roll the gameplay footage, which I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you in the next video.
We need you to secure the memorial and remove the True Sons' forces. They maintain this outpost. The True Sons will be a direct threat to the campus.
Got a visual on additional hostiles in the memorial compound. They're moving south. There's a gate between you. It looks closed from here.
Agent, you'll need to find a way to open that gate.
All clear. I repeat, the compound is all clear.
No, that can't be all of them. Check the interior while I get Henry's people to maintain the perimeter. True Sons have turned the memorial into a base. It's an area beneath you with increased security. Isaac can't access data on this location. Stay alert. Have to know what you're walking into.
Hear that? Fuck this noise. Huh?
DC-62 detected.
Heads up. Isaac just ID'd those shells as chemical weapons. Can't afford to let the True Sons escape with those. You've got to find a way to close up that tunnel. According to the schematics Isaac pulled upstairs, we can lock that tunnel door from their control center. That should keep them from being able to transport those boarders loaded with PTS. That should keep them from getting more of those mortars. want to head back up. The team from the campus has taken position inside the memorial.
If you hadn't stopped them, I know they would have used those weapons on us, and we would have ended up like Castle. I can't tell you how relieved I am to have you on our side. Thank you.
Today, we dealt a great blow to the True Sun's infrastructure. We confiscated a massive cache of chemical weapons and eliminated their stronghold near the campus. You should be proud. You saved a lot of lives today.